Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast, where we're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels. And if you've ever wanted to know how focusing on 3 key areas can make you smart in real estate investing, then guess what? This is the conversation that you're really going to want to listen to until the very last word. I promise. You know why? Because today's guest is not only a 2-time best-selling Amazon author, he also, at the age of 25, now check this out. At the age of 25, he left the life of bartending as well as personal training. He left all that behind so that he can get involved in a family-owned business. What is that all about? Maybe he'll tell us. Also, since then, he has completed hundreds of real estate deals. And this is what's amazing. He has also mentored thousands of investors on thousands of transactions across the US and globe. And I'm sure he's going to tell us more about that. And if he wants to include any more information, he'll definitely do that. He's also the COO of Smart Real Estate Coach, and he is a partner, or is the partner as well as the partner of Pre-Property Solutions. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, Mr. Zachary Beach. Zachary, welcome to the show, man.
Billy, thanks for having me. Introduction makes me sound awesome. It's humble to listen to it because I'm just another guy trying to make it here in this world. So I'm excited to be on here and dive into how we can help your audience.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I know you have a focus on and a very abundant mindset. Having been in touch with you prior, and also knowing the team that you are part of, and you guys are very, very much in terms of giving and looking in the abundance mindset. And by the way, you are awesome and humble, which is what we love. So listen, Zachary, as you know, man, I do like to ask everybody kind of like the same 5 questions, and 2 in the beginning and then 3 at the end. And in between, kind of you and I are going to help people to get to know a lot more about you and those different people in those lives that you are impacting so positively. So if you're ready, we're going to go ahead and get started. And everybody knows. All right, cool. The first question is, help us understand, Zachary, where do you live in the United States?
Well, I'm sure if anybody understands that accent with smart or wicked smart, I'm up here in New England. I was born and raised in central Massachusetts. I live in southern Rhode Island, Newport. If many people have traveled, it's a good, as you said, you're international. It's a good international place where everybody kind of gets together. We're surrounded by Australians and the Kiwis from New Zealand because of all the boating and everything we have going on here, plus the Cayman Islands. So it's a great melting pot and an awesome place to be.
Yeah, it is. It is very much so. And by the way, yes, I did try to do my kind of like New England accent in the beginning. I think you picked up on it, and I don't know if many other people picked up on it, but I think it's really cool. So, so we know that where you are in the US, and then also too, Zachary, we want to start out with some positivity, man. So, what's the most positive thing that has happened to you in the last 24 hours?
Yeah, this is going to probably throw everyone off, but I got it's like a 3-year-old who's turning 4, and I got a 1-year-old who's turning 2. And right now, my baby girl, her name's Bellamy, and she's being potty trained right now. So best thing that's happened in the last 24 hours is she's being consistently using the bathroom. So yes. Not investor related, but I'm sure many people out there that can relate to having kids, building businesses, and being a family person. That is definitely the best part of yesterday.
Yeah, you know what, Zachary, and that takes me down memory lane, man. Our kids are now 10 going on 12. Well, one is 10, just turned 10, and the other will be 12 later on this year. And so those were moments that were just like these victories. You're like, yes, they did it again. Yes. So I can feel you. And it's definitely a positive thing. So appreciate you sharing that with us, and also just reminding us that there's so many different parts of life that we can take a moment to really rejoice and have that positive moment of reflection. So thanks for that. And also too, Zachary, listen, I did my best to kind of tell your story at like a 50,000 foot level, but it's impossible to do that in 30 seconds in the intro, right? So would you do us a favor? Could you help the Going Long family get to know a bit more about you, tell your own backstory in your own words? And one of the things I always like to ask is if you can also highlight maybe some of the major decisions or inflection points that you've had along the way that have helped to get you to this point of your journey. And then from here, you and I will continue that conversation moving forward. So the floor is all yours.
Oh, thank you, Billy. So growing up, Central Massachusetts, I had a single mother. So growing up was basically I was an only child because I had two older brothers, but they're 10 and 11 years older than me. So I had to do a lot of things on my own, even though I had a very amazing woman leader in my life. But as you can imagine, a single mother, it's not like financials or anything like that was a major topic. And we didn't have much. We had enough and I was happy, but we didn't have much. So an aspiration of mine was always to, build a better life for my kids moving forward. And again, I don't mean from love, I mean from a financial standpoint. So I moved from a really lower end town to then a really high end town. And then I became like the poor kid in the rich town. So putting that as a backdrop, that's always been like the chip on my shoulder as we kind of moved through life. I went to, I was always in trouble in high school, and then I went to college just because my teachers told me I couldn't go to college. But I made that happen. And then when I left, I had no idea what to do, period, after I graduated from college. So I became what everybody with their great mind would do is go become a bartender. So I started bartending because I lived in now this town in southern Rhode Island, which is very tourist driven. So I bartended for about 4.5 years. And so I bartended all night, and then I liked working out. So I said, hey, why don't I become a personal trainer? So then I personal trained all morning. As you can imagine, that lifestyle gets a bit burned out pretty quickly because I was burning the rope on both ends. So that's when I went to my father-in-law, who I knew was in real estate for a long period of time. And I know he just was restarting rebuilding his business. So I said, hey, I don't know if I'm going to like real estate, but it's going to be better than this. So are you open for me to really give it a try? So I hopped in. That was in December of 2015. And it took me about, 4 months to figure out that I liked it. And all I did was cold calling expired listings. So if you don't know what that's like, it's you get a list of people and you just work on your script and make calls for hours and hours. And so I did that, and then I fully made that leap, as you said, in April. So it was about 6.5 years ago now, to real estate full time. Me and my wife had enough funds in order to float, basically until I got good at real estate. And from, it's kind of history has been made at that point. We started building this business, my brother-in-law and father-in-law, meaning our real estate investments business. And I'd say about 4 years ago is when we really decided to put in our full effort into growing and scaling our coaching business, which is Smart Real Estate Coach, which we still buy and sell real estate here locally. But we thought, hey, let's make a bigger impact on the world instead of just affecting 3 people at a time, meaning our family, the buyers and the sellers. We can now affect investors and then the buyers and the sellers, and how much big of an impact that could be. So that's when about 4 years ago, we made that decision. And that's why our coaching now has grown significantly. And we've now across, I think we're in 80 markets right now across North America.
Wow. Fantastic, man. This is, and being able to have affect lives across 80 different locations or 80 different markets, as we say, a lot of people across North America. I think that is just phenomenal. And it also really goes to a lot of what you're focused on, Zachary, and the entire team, right? Because it's really now about not just making money, it's about making impact, and being able to do that through your education and your coaching programs is something that is, I know, one of the major ways that you are affecting a lot of other lives. Now, you said a couple of things that it actually resonated with me a whole lot, because you mentioned that you were the poor kid in the rich neighborhood, I think is what you said. And so that resonates a lot with me, because my parents ended up being divorced, and they both they did as much as they could to make sure that we were in the right school district, if you know what I mean. And so, but also a lot of friends of mine and people that I saw, they all had the things that I really, really wanted. And even to this day, and I can really relate to one of the things you're saying, is that that's a big driver, even now, many 30 some odd years later, in terms of the way that I continue to move forward. And I know a lot of the Going Long family can definitely resonate with what you were saying there as well. But there was one thing that you said towards the end, which was that you and your wife figured out that you had enough that you could float, right? So you'd done the bartending, the personal training. You realized that you wanted to really, if I understood it correctly, and correct me if I didn't, but sometimes, when you say that you had enough to float, kind of what does that mean in terms of the fear that you may have been facing? Because I know a lot of times things are mindset, and maybe if you could talk to that float concept a bit.
Yeah. So when it's always funny when we communicate about family businesses, because and people always ask me, not only did you join a family business, but you joined your in-laws. And my in-laws are my partners, which adds an additional layer, which is a lot of fun. And my answer to that always is, hey, you find the smartest people in the room and you partner up with them. And the smartest people in the room were my in-laws at the time. And they still are some of the most smartest people that I get to work with on a day-to-day basis, which I'm grateful for. When I'm talking about floating, me and my wife saved up enough money where we could basically pay for rent and food for, X amount of months. I think at the time it was roughly 6 months, because I knew, and I'm the type of person that needs to go all in on something and dedicate my entire time to it. So I knew that I had about 6 months to figure out how to get my first deal done and to get some commission in the door. Because as we run as a family investment company, we all get paid on the deals. Nobody has a salary. It's all deals based. So we're building a portfolio. So we need to be able to get deals done. So I knew that I had that amount of time, and we're able to get it successfully done. And it was a great learning lesson, and really a great evolution for myself, because it was fearful at the time, even though people would say, well, you turned away a bartending job and it's not like I was making that much money, but I knew it. And I knew that if I showed up at the bar Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I think it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the time, I knew that I could bring in $600 to $800 a week, which to some is great. But so eliminating that completely was a bit of a risk.
And so what I love about what you're saying there, because you went and you recognized that there was a bit of risk, but that didn't stop you from actually taking the leap forward. And a lot of times in mindset, and this is one of the things we're going to come back and talk about, because I know it's one of the things that you really focus on in helping people in terms of the educational and the mentoring type of focus that you have. But you're never going to have things perfectly going along family. It's never going to be perfect, but you do as much as you can to make sure that you're mitigating risk or minimizing the amount of risk that can take place. Zachary gives us a perfect example where he and his wife came together. They realized that 6 months was approximately what they needed. It could have been 8 months or it could have been 4 months, whatever. But that, being able to have that safeguard was what allowed him to move forward and push forward. So I appreciate you saying that. And that's just one of the things I think a lot of times people try to make everything perfect before they make a change. And many times they can't. I feel like you have a lot of passion on this. So maybe there's something you want to add to that, please.
Yeah, Billy. So let me just hit on two other things. One is we've helped out throughout our community. I think it's about 12 people last year were able to leave their JOB and go full-time in real estate investing. And that was because we strategically came up with a plan for them, looked at all of their metrics and said, hey, if you continue to do this work inside the real estate business, it's going to produce this amount of money, and we can start counting on it because it's a predictable business and a system. But the other point was, me and my wife came together multiple times and realized that we needed to make a change in life. And that was the drive. It was when we left college, we said, all right, well, let's have some fun. Let's figure out a place in order to live. We wanted to move to Newport, Rhode Island. So we did that, and we found some jobs like bartending. And that was a lot of fun being in your early 20s. It was like my second college, I should say. And then we came to a point where we were about 23, and we started to say, hey, if we don't plan on being in this industry long term, because you can if you plan on moving up, meaning you want to build a restaurant and then be a manager, build a restaurant, get ownership, then you want to stay in the industry. But we knew at that time that we didn't want to stay in the industry anymore. So the only option was to really like bartend and then burn out. There was no great lifestyle change that was going to happen. And honestly, I didn't see like my side of the family because they lived, a couple hours away for like 2 or 3 years because we worked every single vacation because that's when you work. So we knew that we needed a lifestyle change. So it was worth the risk. We determined, hey, no matter what, like if we want to make a change, then something has to change. So that's when we started to put together this plan. And then we executed. It wasn't perfect in any means. And in some days, you have doubt in your mind. Most days, I should say. Being an entrepreneur, that's pretty well, I don't care how well things are going, you always get doubt in your mind. But it was that initial driver of we want to change. So no matter what, we're going to figure out how to get it done.
And I love the fact that you and your wife came together. You recognized why you wanted to be able to do something. You mapped out a path together. And even knowing that you mapped it out together, you still were consciously aware of the fact that there was risk, but the reward was greater than the risk, which meant that you were going to go ahead and continue to move forward, right? I think that was one thing that's great. And before I have another question. It's really related to the long distance portion, but you just said something, and I know this can help a lot of people, because if you've already helped 12 people leave their JOBs, right, by focusing on some specific metrics. Now, I'm not asking you to give away your secret sauces or anything like that, but I mean, like, what are some of the things that people that are in there, like they're thinking that I want to leave my day job, but I can't really do it because I don't have this, but they don't also know what types of things that they could be focusing on. Like you talked about metrics, and we work here with a lot of really high paid sales professionals, and metrics tend to help us focus and things like that. If you have like one or two that you may be able to share with us, and like I said, if it's not giving away any of your secret sauce, just to help the Going Long family understand conceptually what you mean by some of the types of metrics that you help people look at.
Yeah, I've always taught that knowledge isn't power; it's knowledge in action that's power. So, I mean, we could give away every single aspect of our secret sauce, and unfortunately, not everyone's going to take action on it. But I'm happy to share anything. So. Well, first and foremost, when you're looking to go full time in something or to make a change, you have to determine what your risk factor is, right? Because 6 months may be extremely risky for somebody, 6 months worth of income in your savings account, but also 6 months worth of income may be very conservative for some people as well. Like it just depends on your risk tolerance. And also, if you're getting into the world of entrepreneurship, whether that is buying franchises or being involved in a real estate investment company, and you being the entrepreneur now, I mean, risk is going to be a part of that business. And now it's just how big of a tolerance that you have for it. It's typically too is going to determine how fast you're going to grow is based on your tolerance. But when we're talking about real estate in general, there's a couple of key metrics that we look for, and they're basics. One is on the production side, which is how many leads are you bringing in every week, which are, for us, it means how many sellers are open to our options, are open to us buying the property on creative financing. Yep. Then you have how many leads are you now converting into appointments? So how many appointments are you going on? This is all sales metrics. I know you see, I see you shaking your head. And then how many leads are then converting into your properties under agreement, or your take-ins, as we call them. And then from there, that sets you up. That's a lead metric to now set you up for your lag metric, which is going to be how many properties you're going to sell on that weekly, monthly basis. And then based upon that, we can start looking at how much revenue you're producing per every one of those deals in which you create. So now, if you're doing A, then B, B, then C, C, then D, now you can project out your income for the next 12 months. And now you know when you can make the leap.
Yeah. And Zachary, I appreciate you sharing that, right? Because, and this is what you're helping us do. And I cannot agree with you more when you talk about it's not knowledge is power. It's actually putting that knowledge into action, getting the feedback, what's working, what's not working, number one. And then from there, as you talk about the risk tolerance and is different for every single person. So I love the fact that each person has to really understand what is your ROS? This is a new metric I've just come up with, the ROS. What's your return on sleep? Because at the end of the day, if you're doing something that's not going to allow you to sleep at night, it doesn't matter what the return is. It's going to be a losing proposition for you. But then, and this is especially because there's so many salespeople that listen to this and watch this, right? It just like Zachary's just explained the same life that most of us live every single day. So it's literally taking all of the years that you've learned in your corporate and being able to apply it to your own life. which will potentially give you the option to create whatever lifestyle that you really want to lead. So the fact of the matter is, once again, you're sharing, super transparent. Love that about what you're doing, Zachary, and for you sharing that with us as well. And also, Going Long Family, listen, I mean, it's about taking what you already know, putting it into practice. But also, too, you need to learn a little bit more about the real estate and the different things and the different options. And we're going to come into that as well. But Zachary, actually, I do want to come back to one of the main premises of this program. And I know it's one of the things that you have already stated. Like, if you talk about a North American view, you talk about 80 different markets, 80 different locations. A lot of people, and one of the things I always tell people is, like, I when I read the book and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I took away the concept of being able to, buy a property, and I thought about buying it in my backyard and being able to get to, $200-$300 a month, and that was going to set me free and all this kind of stuff. But the thing that I realized is that I couldn't actually buy in my own backyard. So most of the traditional books tell us that we should buy in our place that we live and be able to manage it and become a landlord and all these kinds of things. Whereas I fundamentally believe that you don't have to, because for the last 6.5, 7 years, I've been living in Europe, investing in the United States exclusively. And so I know that you help people to really understand a system. And so my question to you is, like, when you're helping people to understand the system and be able to become long distance investors, right? Because they can be anywhere they want and invest where they want. Like, help us understand a little bit about, like, how that can tie in to the systems that you create or help people to learn in terms of them being able to be proficient long distance investors, whether they're active or passive investors.
Yeah, Billy, it sounds like you're living the dream. So I don't know what they're listening to me for. They should just be listening to you, living in Barcelona and doing deals in the United States. Good for you. So with our business model, I mean, we buy and sell properties creatively with lease options, owner financing, and subject to deals. So we're not being landlords at all. So I honestly think that this is an even better model in order to buy remotely, as we would call it, or buy it long distance, as you're talking about here, because it's not that you're checking on toilets, trash, or tenants. Yep. You're buying properties creatively. You're taking either control with a lease option, or you're taking title with owner financing or subject to deals. And then you're placing tenant buyers in the property who are going through a rent to own program, meaning they need your program. They are locking in their price. They're working on their credit. They're working on their seasoning if they're self-employed, and they're working towards getting their own loan. And they're 100% responsible for the entire property. It's not you, it's them. And then you're just helping them get through that process. So buying remotely, we have people in Canada buying in the United States. I know that we've entered into some markets like Australia and parts of Europe, just because the laws are similar to what our laws are in the United States as far as creative financing. So it can fit into our model in any form or fashion. We've had people in the United States buying and not in their own backyard. Like, let's say you live in New York City. One lady comes to mind. She's originally from Florida, but she lives in New York City. So she's buying in Jacksonville, Florida, and she's put together multiple owner financing deals that are equating to 6 figures in all their paydays. So you can be in Barcelona and buying wherever you want. You can be anywhere in the United States buying wherever you want. What's most important, and I know you're going to probably get to this, is it's the team and the systems that you have set up around you to be successful. It's not the location.
Yeah, and this is absolutely right. And I guess one of the things I do want to just share with the Going Long family, I mean, one of the ways that Zachary and their team really help people is they've got some really amazing videos on YouTube. And I think even one of the coaching programs or one of the coachees that you have, and you're actually literally walking them through, helping them understand the process. So it's not just talking the talk. I mean, these guys, what they do and what Zachary and his team does is they show you what you're doing, once again, because it's not about just being able to see it or know it. You actually have to do it. So I would recommend that everyone from the Going Long family that you go over and check out their website. And I know we're going to give actually, if you want to give a shout out, Zachary, with the website or the YouTube channel specifically, because that's where I know you have a lot of content.
Yeah, if you just go to YouTube and just type in Smart Real Estate Coach, we have 3 main video sections that we do. We have Motivational Mondays, we have Thursday Q&As, and we have Deal Structure Sundays, where we literally walk through either the deals in which we did in-house, or more what you're seeing now is the associate deals or our students' deals. We walk you through all the nuances there on Deal Structure Sunday. So yeah, definitely take advantage of that. We've been consistent now for over, I think, 4.5, 5 years now. So tons of great content there.
Yeah, it's fantastic content. So Going Long family, go ahead and check them out. One of the things so we've talked about this a bit earlier. We talked about mindset because this is something that's, I believe, especially as a long distance investor, it's the first hurdle. It's like almost the most important hurdle, if not the most important hurdle. But you really focus on kind of three key areas, and it's not just mindset, it's skill set as well as systems. And so maybe if you could talk us through a little bit about why those three key focus areas, and kind of what are some of the things that you are doing as a team to support those three areas.
Yeah, we believe that like those three areas are the most key components when it comes to our real estate investors or entrepreneurs. And a lot of these things are going to need to be overcome in order for you to be successful, or the speed in which you're going to be successful, I think, is most important. You talked about how people can utilize the skills in which they've already developed from their other jobs and then bring it to the marketplace or bring it to their new business. And I talk about that all the time with our associates, because people ask, well, how fast is it? Like, how fast can I get a deal done? And I always tell them, I don't know what you're bringing to the table. I don't know from day one what your mindset or your paradigms are. Because the biggest thing, and when we're sitting on mindset, it's at least 80% of the business. I know we interviewed world-renowned Peter Sage, and he said, like, mindset's almost 90% of any business. So when we talk about this, it's really the fundamental aspects of your business, but also the skill sets in which you bring from your other business as well. These things are all going to come into play. So when we talk about mindset, we break down it into three categories. Number one are your beliefs, which I think that's exactly what you're alluding to earlier, which is like, do I actually believe that I can buy real estate long distance remotely? Because if you don't believe it, then you're going to have a block, and that's going to come out in every single person or prospect you speak to, which means you're never going to get a deal. You have overcoming fear, which is a major portion. I was just speaking with another one of our students, and she said to me something along the lines of, hey, I've been in this industry for so long, her other business. And she said, I have a block in which I don't believe that I can actually make money outside of that industry. So this is something that we're working on. I know that she's working with some other mindset coaches as well, because that is going to determine how successful she's going to be. Yep. And then the last piece when we're talking about mindset is personal habits. If you're not showing up to the table with the right personal habits, and I didn't. So I was a bartender, personal trainer. I come from a single mother, lower middle class. Like, I didn't have personal habits that are going to put me in a successful position. These were all learned. And these are all by surrounding myself with people that had those personal habits. Like we talked about like having more or less some pieces in your personal lives that can set you up for success. Like having like a Sunday strategy session where you kind of debrief everything and you look at your personal habits and your goals, and having times in which you can reflect in the morning and having a morning routine. All the people that successful people we've interviewed in our podcast, the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast, every single one of the successful people had a morning routine. That's a personal habit that I believe needs to be established. Yep. And then we also talk about like some auditing at the end of every day, so that way we can look at where the lessons were learned, where the big wins were, and to recognize when we're either getting into bad habits or we want to kind of get that flywheel going with our good habits. So. It's a huge piece, and I can tell you, I'm just a student in the game as well. I don't know everything. I'm just trying to figure it out too, and try to implement. So I'm sure your listeners can do the same. Yeah,
and I love the fact that one, it is about how do you take different ideas and put them into practice, right? You mentioned a couple of things, and none of us are perfect. It's just a matter of what are we actually doing. I'm sharing my own example. In the mornings, I am a big believer in Hal Elrod. So I start every morning out with the savers, kind of like starting out with my silence, my affirmations, my visualization, my exercise, my reading, and my scribing every day. And then I've recently, because I've tried a number of different things, and I've picked up Michael Hyatt's Free to Focus, and that is what I file what are my top 3 priorities for the week, for the day, for the year, for the quarter, blah blah. And then being able to have time to reflect at the end of the day. Sundays are the days that I choose to set up the next week, and it's not perfect. I mean, definitely not perfect either, but it's just a matter of how much feedback can you actually do? And then when you add on the types of things that you help people with, Zachary, because you're providing them with a system, helping them with their mindset, and you're also helping them with the ongoing coaching and the mentoring, which I think is also phenomenal. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned a word earlier, and I think it's really important, and because I would like for you to talk a bit more about some of the things that you do, but you talked about a word called seasoning. And it may be the first time that some of the Going Long family have heard seasoning. So if you could actually provide the context for what is seasoning and why is that important for someone to know through your system?
Yeah, seasoning is what a bank needs for a buyer or for them really to provide a mortgage. So let me give you an example. I bought my first house on a lease option. So one of the options in which we use, I bought my first property that way. And the reason why I needed to structure a deal that way, an off-market deal with a seller, was because I needed roughly 24 months to show that I was making the income that I was going to be needing for my debt to income ratio and my revenue or my income in order to show the bank to qualify for that loan. So anybody that's in a self-employed position is going to need to show seasoning to a bank. It's just time. That's all they need. Because being self-employed, everybody plays the game. They want to show the least amount so they don't have to pay the most amount of taxes. And so you're writing off a lot. But as soon as you're deciding to go get a bank loan, well, that needs to automatically shift. So now you have to pay more taxes and you have to show more income. And typically it takes roughly 24 months for a bank to go ahead and qualify for it.
Fantastic. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you giving people more insight as to really what seasoning is, in terms of being able to also understand how that can be an important part of your system. So I did want to give you the opportunity. I mean, if there were specific things that maybe you want to talk about as we're looking forward, or the things that you're doing today, or the people that you are specifically helping with Smart Real Estate Coach today. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about who is that person that you're typically helping today.
Yeah, right now, well, I would say our typical student or associate, somebody that we partner with, is somebody who's committed, who's serious, and wants to build a better life for themselves. They could either be currently, you could be, as I'm talking to you right now, you could be currently in a W-2 job and you're looking for the next phase of your life and create a better lifestyle for you and your family, or a better life period. Or you got somebody who is self-employed right now that's looking for the next venture in their life. And because we've had a lot of people come to us and say, hey, I was actually looking into franchises before I found you. Because what we do is we provide three things. We provide the mindset, the skill set, and the systems, and also an entire community. So all of those people that I talked about across the country, across North America, that we're buying and selling with, are all part of this amazing community called the Associates community, and they communicate on a day-to-day basis. We have them integrated in a platform in which we see best friends being made and business opportunities happening directly through that community. So if you're, again, W-2 or self-employed, this can be the next position for you. What our two things are, our purpose is to empower individuals and families to create the life of their dreams. We just happen to do that through real estate investing. We happen to do that through a real estate model. And then number two is our mission is to create 500 new transactions with those community members. So real estate deals that have happened, which create three distinctive paydays: money now, money over time, and money on the back end. Works perfect for a remote situation or long distance investing. And then, so create 500 new transactions by the end of 2022. So we're dedicated to help out the serious and the committed who want to build a better life for themselves, to help them do more deals.
So I appreciate you sharing that, and really looking for those people that are committed, whether it's W-2, whether it's someone who has their own business. But you said something, and I think it would be worthwhile just to give it a quick breakdown, because you talked about three distinct kind of paydays. I know is a way that you like to think about it. So if you could just go over those one more really quickly, and then after that we'll get into Going Long final three.
Yeah, you got it. So it's something that we trademarked in our system. So we create three paydays. So when we buy a property via lease option, owner financing, or buying the property subject to the existing loan, we are buying it at a specific price. We're taking over any and all responsibilities of the property, so all expenses, And then we have a time frame in which that seller needs to be paid off for. Some of our deals have an end date, some of them don't, but we'll keep it there. And then what we do is we then sell it to tenant buyers. So buyers that are just outside of financeability. Somebody like myself who was self-employed and need time. Somebody had a legitimate hiccup in their credit. Somebody that's now had a gap in employment due to COVID, right? So there's so many of that happening right now. So then what we do is we sell that property to that buyer, either through a rent-to-own program or on owner financing. Then, so our paydays are one, the non-refundable deposit we collect. On average, it's roughly $25,000 to $27,000. Payday two is the cash flow in which we create on the deal. So just be like if you're being a landlord, except not being a landlord, you're just collecting money every single month. So that's the difference in spread that we create. That's on average roughly $500 per month. Then the back end payday three is the either difference in price left over because we bought it for X and we sold it for Y, and any principal pay down that we've accumulated over that time. So on average, that's roughly $35,000 to $38,000 on the back end. So if you just look at our numbers just here locally, it's roughly $78,000, all three paydays with an average term of about 36 to 48 months.
All right. So between 3-4 years and being able to have those types of paydays, and you get the down payment, you get the payment over time, and you get the payment on the back end. So the three distinct paydays, and I know we're going to be able to help people understand where they can find out a lot more about that later on. But the thing is, Zachary, we've got to get into the going long final three, man.
Do it.
But the thing is, I never ask unless you tell me you're ready. So you're ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I knew you would be. Here we go. So listen, really quickly, lightning round. So we started with you over in the U.S. and Rhode Island, and I like to bring it back this way now. And so help us understand, what is your favorite European city, either that you visited already or is still on your bucket list to visit?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have not been to Europe yet. So I had so many vacations planned before COVID happened.
It's all good. You'll get over here. You've got the bucket list. We're going to go to the bucket list, man. Start. What's number one?
So the first city that I'm going to visit on my bucket list, because I got family that treks back to Portugal, was going to be, I think it's San Miguel and the Azores in Lisbon. That's where I want to go.
All right, man. The Azores are amazing, by the way. So is Lisbon. So it's phenomenal. So listen, we're going to get into question number 2. And this has to do with really successful people. And the thing that I've always noticed, and you're a very successful person, Zachary, is that successful people, like, they've only made one mistake their entire career, which is why okay, I kind of get that. I got that wrong. Maybe I get that wrong every time, but it's probably by design. Also, everybody makes mistakes, learning opportunities, errors, whatever you want to call them. But successful people do something differently. They learn from that and they take away lessons. So what's the one lesson that you would share with the Going Long family that you think will, or would actually make a positive impact on everyone?
Yeah, I would say the biggest lesson that I've learned, and it's just been recent, so it's top of mind, is really understanding not only me, but my personality type. Because right now I'm in the process of building out teams. And I can tell you that I've been through many hiccups just in the last 12 months, just building out a team. And majority of it, I would say, if not all, because I'm a big fan of extreme ownership, has been my fault. So just understanding your personality type. I mean, I go through the DISC assessment. And now I understand not only perceptions of myself, but also how other people, how I'm perceiving other people, so that way I can best work with them. So I would say just reflect, take time, and spend a lot of time on personal development. That way you can continue to work on yourself, because your income will never outpace your personal growth.
Income never outpaces personal growth. Absolutely. And understanding behaviors, personalities is something that's key, especially in leadership roles. So Zachary, appreciate you sharing that with us, and which brings us to the very last of the Going Long Final 3, which is helping us to feed our brains. So what one book would you recommend for the Going Long family?
Well, let's keep it on the same subject right now. The book is I'm Surrounded by Idiots. It's an amazing book, all based on personalities. So as you can see, that's kind of where my head's at right now, as we continue to build out amazing teams to do more and more real estate and be able to impact more people. So yeah, I'm surrounded by idiots. You heard that right.
Right on. I'm surrounded by idiots, and we'll leave that in the show notes as well. And I just I'm already thinking to myself, man, this has been amazing, talking from the moment, the product of a single mother, and being the quote unquote poor kid in the rich neighborhood. Definitely can relate to that. From there, left the life of bartending and physical therapy, or physical, helping people get better in terms of their physical appearance and weights and things like that, personal training. and then you got into a family-owned business and it continued to move forward and help others and impact others' lives and helping thousands of transactions across North America, which is awesome. And I know, Zachary, so many people are like, how do I get in touch with Zachary and understand more about what he's doing? So tell us, what's the best way for the Going Long family to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of resources. Number one, if you'd like to book a strategy call with us, let's do it. You can get in touch with one of our associates. Actually, his name is Brian O'Neill, and he's been one of the people that actually went full-time in real estate and left a sales job actually to go full-time in real estate. So you just do that by going to smartrealestatecoach.com/action. That's smartrealestatecoach.com/action. But also love to send you to our website, which would also be another good spot, which would be smartrealestatecoach.com. That's smartrealestatecoach.com. And you can download our ebooks and get tons of other free gifts there as well.
Awesome. Well, listen, Zachary, we're going to make sure that we include that and more in the show notes. So everybody from the Going Long family, go over to smartrealestatecoach.com. They've got a lot going on there, and we'll include their associates' contact details as well. And yeah, they deliver so much value. I go over there a lot myself. So go ahead and check them out, everybody. Zachary, man, listen, I just want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for investing your time with me and the entire Going Long family. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Just a couple quick words really quickly. Going Long family, share today's episode with 2 or 3 other people. Zachary left so much value, and you can be a positive influence on someone else's life. Just take a couple seconds. Also, just leave take a couple seconds to leave an honest review. I go through every single one of these reviews, an honest review, leave a sure written review. And it's something that we take seriously to continue to bring you more value in each and every one of these episodes. And until then, I'm looking forward to welcoming you back on the very next conversation. So go out, make it a great day, and thank you very much. Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? When I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long-distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.